Dr. Ethan Whitfield stood in the dimly lit hallway of St. Mary's Hospital, rubbing his tired eyes. The night shift had been grueling, filled with emergencies that left him emotionally and physically drained. Just as he was about to head home, a sharp beep from his secure communication device broke the silence. He frowned, glancing at the screen. It was an urgent message from Medalliance, the interstellar medical organization he had occasionally consulted for. "Ethan, we need your expertise. There's a critical case on Zephyria," the voice crackled through. "A young girl named Lyra is in desperate need of help. You're her only hope." Ethan's heart raced. He had never faced a case like this before. His mind buzzed with 1,000 questions, but he knew one thing for sure: he couldn't ignore the call for help. The message continued, outlining Lyra's severe neurological disorder. The best alien doctors were stumped, unable to provide a solution. Ethan's specialty in complex neurological cases had earned him a reputation, but this was beyond anything he had ever encountered. He slumped into his office chair, staring at the walls adorned with accolades and diplomas. The weight of the decision pressed on him. The thought of leaving his patients and the familiar confines of Earth filled him with doubt. "Why me?" he muttered under his breath. Before he could send his refusal, another message pinged. This time, it was from Dr. Amara Solis, an alien doctor he had met at a conference years ago. Her voice was calm, reassuring. "Ethan, I know this is daunting, but your unique approach might be what Lyra needs. I'll be here to support you. Trust in your skills." Amara's words resonated with him. He took a deep breath, feeling a spark of determination igniting within him. He had always believed in pushing the boundaries of medicine, and this was his chance to make a difference in ways he had never imagined. Ethan stood up, his resolve solidifying. He contacted his colleagues, arranging for his patients to be looked after during his absence. He packed his medical kit, ensuring he had everything he might need for the journey. The hum of anticipation mixed with anxiety as he prepared for what lay ahead. As dawn broke, Ethan boarded the Medalliance spacecraft. The sleek vessel hummed with energy as it prepared for departure. He gazed out the window, watching Earth shrink away. The vastness of space stretched before him, filled with both promise and peril. The journey to Zephyria was surreal. The advanced technology and the sheer scale of the cosmos left him awestruck. He spent the time reviewing Lyra's medical files, familiarizing himself with her condition and the previous treatments she had received. His mind buzzed with potential solutions, yet the uncertainty gnawed at him. Upon arrival, Ethan was struck by the stark beauty of Zephyria. The alien architecture, with its fluid lines and bioluminescent structures, was like nothing he had ever seen. He felt a mix of wonder and intimidation as he stepped onto the alien soil. He was greeted by Lyra's family and a team of medical professionals. Lyra's parents, their eyes filled with hope and desperation, clung to his every word as he introduced himself. Lyra lay in a sterile room, her delicate form contrasting sharply with the advanced technology surrounding her. Despite her condition, there was a serene strength in her eyes that moved Ethan deeply. Ethan began his examination, noting the unique aspects of Zephyrian biology. It was a challenging task, but he relished the opportunity to learn and apply his skills in this new context. He quickly realized that this wasn't just a medical puzzle, it was a race against time. Not all welcomed him warmly. Some alien doctors viewed him with skepticism, doubting his ability to contribute anything new. Ethan felt the weight of their disdain but focused on the task at hand. He knew that Lyra's life depended on his ability to look beyond the obvious and find a solution. Late into the night, Ethan pored over Lyra's medical data, analyzing every detail. His mind raced with theories and potential treatments. Just as he felt he was making headway, an alarm pierced the quiet, signaling a sudden deterioration in Lyra's condition. Panic gripped the room, but Ethan's training kicked in. He acted swiftly, adjusting the equipment and administering emergency treatments. Ethan's quick response stabilized Lyra, earning him cautious respect from some of the alien doctors. The experience left him drained but resolute. He knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he was more determined than ever to save Lyra. As he settled into his temporary quarters, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. He thought of Amara's words and the trust placed in him. He was here for a reason, and he would not let fear or doubt hinder his mission. He lay down, exhaustion finally taking over, but his mind remained focused on the task ahead. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, he allowed himself a moment of rest, knowing that every second counted in the battle to save Lyra. Dr. Ethan Whitfield watched through the viewport as the vastness of space unfolded before him. The stars, distant and cold, sparkled like diamonds against the velvet backdrop of the universe. His heart raced with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. The enormity of his decision hit him harder with every passing moment. The journey to Zephyria was both fascinating and disorienting. The spacecraft's advanced technology was a marvel, far beyond anything he'd encountered on Earth. Holographic displays and automated systems hummed with efficiency, making the journey feel seamless. Despite the technological wonders, Ethan felt the weight of his responsibility growing heavier. As the ship neared Zephyria, the view transformed. The planet came into sight, a breathtaking sphere of vibrant colors. Lush green forests, sparkling blue oceans, and glowing cities contrasted sharply with the barren void of space. The bioluminescent flora of Zephyria gave the planet an ethereal glow, making it look like a jewel floating in the cosmos. Upon landing, Ethan was greeted by a team of Zephyrian medics. Their leader, Dr. Kalen, approached with a mixture of hope and skepticism. "Dr. Whitfield, welcome to Zephyria. We've been eagerly awaiting your arrival." Ethan nodded, trying to mask his nervousness. "Thank you, Dr. Kalen. I'm here to help in any way I can." Dr. Kalen led him through the bustling corridors of the medical facility, a state-of-the-art structure that blended seamlessly with the natural environment. The walls seemed to pulse with a gentle, soothing light, and the air was filled with a faint, pleasant fragrance. It was unlike any hospital Ethan had ever seen. As they walked, Dr. Kalen briefed him on Lyra's condition. "She's been suffering from a neurological disorder that our medicine can't seem to cure. Her symptoms have been worsening, and we fear the worst." They entered a spacious, softly lit room where Lyra lay on a floating medical bed. Her skin, a delicate shade of lavender, shimmered faintly under the lights. Despite her weakened state, her eyes sparkled with curiosity and intelligence. Beside her stood her family, their faces etched with worry. Ethan approached Lyra and gently took her hand. "Hello, Lyra. I'm Dr. Ethan Whitfield. I'm here to help you get better." Lyra managed a weak smile. "Thank you for coming, Dr. Whitfield. I hope you can help me." Ethan's heart ached at the sight of her frailty. He turned to Dr. Kalen and the other medics. "I'll need to review all her medical records and run some tests. We need to understand every aspect of her condition." Over the next few days, Ethan immersed himself in Lyra's case. He studied her medical history, analyzed her test results, and consulted with the Zephyrian doctors. The differences in alien biology were challenging, but Ethan's determination and adaptability shone through. He found himself fascinated by the unique aspects of Zephyrian physiology and how they responded to treatments differently than humans. Despite the progress, Ethan faced resistance. Some Zephyrian doctors doubted his methods and voiced their concerns openly. "Dr. Whitfield, your approach is unorthodox. We fear it might do more harm than good," one of them argued during a heated discussion. Ethan remained calm, his voice steady. "I understand your concerns, but we need to think outside the box. Lyra's condition requires innovative solutions. Trust me, I only want what's best for her." The tension in the room was palpable, but slowly, some of the doctors began to see the merit in Ethan's perspective. He was not only treating Lyra, but also learning from her unique physiology, blending human and alien medical knowledge in unprecedented ways. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Ethan found himself alone in the facility's garden. The bioluminescent plants cast a soft, calming glow, and the air was filled with the gentle hum of alien insects. He took a deep breath, allowing the serene environment to soothe his frazzled nerves. Dr. Amara Solis appeared beside him, her presence a welcome comfort. "Ethan, you're doing great work here. Don't let the skepticism get to you." Ethan sighed. "It's not just the skepticism, Amara. It's the weight of responsibility. What if I can't save her?" Amara placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You're not alone in this. We're all here to support you. Remember why you came, because you believed you could make a difference. Her words reignited Ethan's resolve. You're right. I can't let doubt cloud my judgment. Lyra deserves everything we can give. The following days brought breakthroughs. Ethan discovered a potential treatment that combines Zephyrian herbs with advanced human medical techniques. The approach was risky, but it offered hope where there had been none. As he prepared for the procedure, Ethan gathered Lyra's family and the medical team. This treatment is experimental, but it's our best chance. I believe it can work. Lyra's parents exchanged anxious glances, but nodded in agreement. We trust you, Dr. Whitfield. Please, do whatever it takes. With a deep breath, Ethan began the procedure. The room was filled with a tense silence, broken only by the rhythmic beeping of medical monitors. Every step was critical, every decision fraught with potential consequences. Hours later, as the treatment concluded, Ethan observed Lyra closely. Her vital signs stabilized, and a faint color returned to her cheeks. The room erupted in cautious optimism. Dr. Whitfield, she's responding. Dr. Callan exclaimed, relief evident in his voice. Ethan allowed himself a small smile. It's a good start, but we need to monitor her closely. The next few days will be crucial. Just as Ethan was about to retire for the night, an alarm blared, signaling a sudden complication in Lyra's condition. He rushed to her side, heart pounding, knowing the true test had only just begun. Dr. Ethan Whitfield had barely slept. The alien medical complex was a marvel of advanced technology and elegant design, but its unfamiliarity kept him on edge. The following morning, as he reviewed Lyra's latest test results, an alarm blared. Lyra's vital signs were dropping rapidly. Ethan rushed to her side, his mind racing through possible interventions. He administered a stabilizing agent, his hands steady despite the pressure. The alien doctors watched, their skepticism palpable. Doctor, this is unprecedented. One of them, Dr. Zerun, remarked with a hint of disapproval. Ethan ignored the comment, focusing instead on Lyra's monitors. Her body is responding. We need to adjust her neural stabilizers immediately, he directed, his voice calm and authoritative. The alien medical staff hesitated but followed his lead, their movements uncertain yet cooperative. After what felt like an eternity, Lyra's vital signs began to stabilize. Ethan exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He looked up to find Lyra's parents, Yara and Kyle, watching him with a mix of hope and fear. Thank you, Dr. Whitfield, Yara whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. She's stable for now, but we're not out of the woods yet, Ethan replied, wiping sweat from his brow. I need to understand more about her condition and how her body reacts to treatments. Over the next few days, Ethan worked tirelessly, diving deep into Lyra's medical history and collaborating with the more open-minded alien doctors. Dr. Solis had given him access to extensive Zephyrian medical databases, which he pored over relentlessly. Ethan found an unexpected ally in Dr. Kira, a young, enthusiastic alien doctor who was eager to learn from him. Your methods are different, but they make sense, Kira said one evening as they reviewed Lyra's progress together. I believe we can find a solution if we combine our knowledge. Their collaboration began to yield results. Ethan's human medical expertise, combined with Kira's understanding of Zephyrian physiology, started to uncover patterns in Lyra's condition. They discovered that her neurological disorder was exacerbated by a rare environmental factor unique to Zephyria. This breakthrough was critical but also introduced new challenges. Meanwhile, Ethan's relationship with Lyra's family deepened. Kyle shared stories of their struggles and hopes, while Yara often brought Ethan meals, grateful for his relentless dedication. These moments of connection grounded Ethan, reminding him why he had taken this leap of faith. Despite these advances, not all of Zephyria's medical community was on his side. Dr. Zerun, in particular, remained a vocal critic. Human methods are not superior. This is a dangerous experiment, he declared during a tense meeting. Ethan met Zerun's gaze steadily. I'm not claiming superiority, Dr. Zerun. I'm offering a different perspective. Together, we might find an answer that has eluded us all. His words hung in the air, a challenge and an invitation. Late one night, As Ethan reviewed Lyra's latest scans, Kira rushed into the lab. "Ethan, I think we've found something." She led him to a holographic display showing intricate neural pathways. "Look at this anomaly. It's been overlooked because it's so rare, but it matches a condition documented in ancient medical texts." Ethan's eyes widened as he studied the data. "This could be the key," he murmured. They worked through the night, formulating a new treatment plan based on their discovery. The procedure would be complex and risky, but it offered the best chance yet for Lyra's recovery. The following morning, they presented their findings to the medical board. "We believe this treatment targets the root cause of Lyra's disorder," Ethan explained. "It's a combination of advanced Zephyrian technology and human medical techniques." The room buzzed with murmurs of both excitement and skepticism. Dr. Zirun was the first to speak. "If you're wrong, the consequences could be catastrophic." Ethan nodded. "I understand the risks, but we've exhausted all other options. Lyra's condition will continue to deteriorate without this intervention." After a tense deliberation, the board agreed to proceed. The operation was scheduled for the next day, and the atmosphere in the medical complex was charged with anticipation. As Ethan prepped for the surgery, Lyra's parents approached him. "We trust you, Dr. Whitfield," Cale said, gripping Ethan's hand. "You've already done so much. Please, save our daughter." "I'll do everything I can," Ethan promised, feeling the weight of their trust and the responsibility it carried. The operation began under the watchful eyes of the entire medical team. Ethan and Kira worked in perfect sync, their combined expertise guiding each precise movement. The room was silent except for the hum of medical equipment and the occasional whispered instruction. Hours passed, the tension mounting with each critical phase. Finally, as the last step was completed, Lyra's vitals stabilized. Ethan stepped back, his exhaustion replaced by a surge of relief and hope. "She's stable," he announced, the words barely out before a wave of cheers and tears swept through the room. Ethan looked at Lyra's peaceful face and allowed himself a rare smile. They had done it. Ethan stood in the sterile alien operating room, his hands trembling slightly as he reviewed the procedure's final steps. Around him, the advanced technology of Zephyria glowed with a soft luminescence, creating an almost surreal atmosphere. The room was filled with a tense silence, broken only by the rhythmic beeping of monitors tracking Lyra's vital signs. He took a deep breath, steadying himself for what was to come. "Dr. Whitfield, are you ready?" asked Dr. Amara Solis, her voice calm but filled with concern. She had been a constant pillar of support, her presence reassuring amidst the uncertainty. Ethan nodded, meeting her gaze with determination. "As ready as I'll ever be. Let's do this." The procedure began with Ethan making precise incisions, the alien instruments feeling both familiar and foreign in his hands. Each movement was deliberate, guided by years of experience and the intensive study he had undertaken since arriving on Zephyria. He worked meticulously, his focus unwavering as he navigated the complexities of Lyra's condition. Halfway through, the unexpected happened. Lyra's heart rate spiked alarmingly, and her body convulsed. Alarms blared, and a wave of panic threatened to break Ethan's concentration. He forced himself to stay calm, drawing on his training and the support of the team around him. "Her vitals are unstable," one of the alien nurses shouted, her voice edged with fear. "Administer the stabilizer," Ethan commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos. The team moved swiftly, and within moments, Lyra's vitals began to stabilize, though the crisis had left everyone on edge. "Stay with me, Lyra," Ethan whispered, more to himself than anyone else. The room seemed to hold its breath as he resumed the procedure, each second feeling like an eternity. He knew that one wrong move could be disastrous, but he also felt a renewed determination. Lyra's life depended on him, and he would not fail her. Time seemed to blur as Ethan continued to work, his mind and body in perfect synchrony. The alien technology, which had once seemed daunting, now felt like an extension of himself. He could sense the team's eyes on him, their trust and hope hinging on his every action. As he approached the final, most delicate part of the procedure, Ethan's hands were steady. He made the necessary adjustments, his movements precise and confident. Then, With a final, decisive act, he completed the procedure. "Done," Ethan said, stepping back and letting out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The room was silent for a moment, and then the monitors beeped steadily, signaling stability. Lyra's vitals were strong, and her condition was no longer critical. A collective sigh of relief swept through the room. Dr. Solis approached Ethan, her eyes filled with gratitude and admiration. "You did it, Dr. Whitfield. You saved her." Ethan nodded, exhaustion and relief washing over him. "We all did," he replied, acknowledging the team's efforts. "Thank you, everyone." Lyra's family rushed in, their faces a mixture of hope and fear. Ethan watched as they gathered around her, their relief palpable as they saw her stable condition. "She'll need time to recover," Ethan said gently. "But she's gonna be okay." Tears of joy filled their eyes, and they thanked him profusely. Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This was why he had become a doctor to save lives, no matter how challenging the circumstances. Later, as Ethan stood alone in the observation room, looking down at Lyra, he reflected on the journey that had brought him here. The doubts, the fears, the moments of crisis, they had all been worth it. He had grown not just as a doctor, but as a person, learning to trust in his abilities and the support of those around him. Just as he was beginning to feel a sense of closure, Dr. Solis entered the room, her expression serious. "Ethan, we have a problem," she said, handing him a datapad. The readings displayed a concerning anomaly. "What is it?" Ethan asked, his earlier relief giving way to a new wave of concern. "There's been an unexpected complication," Dr. Solis replied. "Her neurological readings are fluctuating in a way we've never seen before. We need to address this immediately." Ethan felt a surge of adrenaline. He had just completed a complex procedure, but there was no time to rest. Lyra's fight wasn't over, and neither was his. "Let's go," he said, his voice resolute. Together, they rushed back into the operating room, ready to face the next challenge. Dr. Ethan Whitfield leaned back, exhaustion washing over him as he watched the steady rise and fall of Lyra's chest. The risky procedure had been successful, and for the first time since arriving on Zephyria, Ethan allowed himself to breathe a sigh of relief. He had done it, Lyra was on the mend. As he left the recovery room, Ethan was greeted by Lyra's parents, their faces etched with gratitude. "Thank you, Dr. Whitfield," Lyra's mother said, her voice trembling. "We owe you everything." Ethan smiled warmly. "Lyra is a fighter. She's going to be just fine." Over the next few days, Lyra's progress was nothing short of miraculous. She regained her strength and vitality, her laughter filling the halls of the medical facility. Ethan spent as much time as he could with her, marveling at the resilience and spirit of the young alien girl who had touched his heart. As Lyra's condition stabilized, Ethan began to prepare for his return to Earth. His mind buzzed with the implications of what he had learned on Zephyria. The blend of human and alien medical practices had opened new doors of possibility. He knew that this experience would change the course of his medical career. On his final day on Zephyria, Ethan found himself in a quiet moment with Lyra. She looked up at him with wide, expressive eyes. "Will you come back, Dr. Whitfield?" she asked, her voice hopeful. Ethan crouched down to her level, taking her small, delicate hand in his. "If you ever need me, Lyra, I'll be here. And who knows, maybe I'll come back just to visit my favorite patient." Lyra beamed, her luminescent skin glowing brighter. "Promise?" "Promise," Ethan said, ruffling her hair gently. Leaving the medical facility, Ethan was accompanied by Dr. Amara Solis. They walked in comfortable silence through the bustling corridors. Finally, Amara spoke, her tone reflective. "You've done something incredible here, Ethan. Not just for Lyra, but for all of us." Ethan shook his head modestly. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance, Amara." "Thank you." She smiled. "The journey doesn't end here. There's so much more to learn and share. Stay in touch, Ethan. The universe has a way of bringing us back together." Ethan nodded, appreciating the depth of her words. As he boarded the spacecraft that would take him back to Earth, he looked out at the alien landscape one last time, feeling a mix of accomplishment and bittersweet farewell. The journey back was a time for reflection. Ethan thought about the skepticism he had faced, the challenges he had overcome, and the bonds he had formed. He realized how much he had grown, not just as a doctor, but as a person. The experience had expanded his understanding of life and medicine in profound ways. Back on Earth, Ethan resumed his duties at St. Mary's Hospital with a renewed sense of purpose. His colleagues noticed the change in him, a newfound confidence and a wealth of new knowledge that he began to share with them. He integrated the advanced techniques he had learned into his practice, improving the care he provided to his patients. One evening, as he was reviewing patient files, a familiar voice interrupted his thoughts. "Welcome back, Dr. Whitfield." Ethan looked up to see his old friend and mentor, Dr. Jacob Hartman, standing in the doorway. "Jacob," Ethan said, smiling, "it's good to see you." Jacob entered the room, his eyes twinkling with curiosity. "I've heard rumors about your interstellar adventures. Care to share some of those stories?" Ethan laughed. "It's a long story, but let's just say it's been life-changing. I have so much to tell you." As they sat down, Ethan recounted his journey, the challenges he had faced, and the incredible recovery of Lyra. Jacob listened intently, his expression a mix of amazement and admiration. "You've done something extraordinary, Ethan. This will revolutionize our approach to medicine." Ethan nodded. "I believe it will. And it's just the beginning. There's so much more to explore." Their conversation was interrupted by a beep from Ethan's communicator. He glanced at the screen and saw a message from Medallions. The contents made his heart race. "Looks like there's another emergency," he said, meeting Jacob's eyes. Jacob raised an eyebrow. "Another adventure?" Ethan grinned. "It seems so. But this time, I'll be better prepared."